Well, hello, welcome back to Underrated Movies. I'm your guy, I'm your man, Mr. Alton Henry. Today I'm going to talk to you of another underrated television show that you need to check out. And I get it why the show's not currently doing well. And I think tonight is its final episode. I'm talking about Star Wars Skeleton Crew. It's a science fiction coming of age uh, action adventure series starring Jude Law. You got a cast of kids characters that I'm not gonna just have a list there. And it's a story centered around um, kids who grow up on a very distant planet that's separated from all the other galaxies in its very private planet. And these kids has never been outside of space. So they, out of curiosity and a little sense of wonder, decide to embark on a unforeseen adventure of possibly going out on an adventure by mistake and get lost in space and encounter a pirate named Jude Law who is trying to find basically trying to aid these kids find their way back home. And this is a very good Star Wars show. In fact, I have not seen The Acolyte, but I can tell you uh, I think the hate of this show is undeserving because it is like the Goonies set in in a Star Wars setting, and it takes place within after Episode 6 between uh, the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy at some point I think in time, and it uh, starts off very well with these two best friends. A human, and then you got this blue elephant like creature, which I just remember that blue elephant creature from the Return of the Jedi. So I'm assuming whatever that species that is, I think of that. Um, and they are bored with their lives a little bit, and they want to get out there and see an adventure, and they end up partnering up with two girls. One of them I think is a cyborg, half human, half robot, and they get caught. They discover a pirate ship underground, and they accidentally, what do you call it? Hyperspeed their ass off planet. It is kind of funny. The whole episode builds up to that moment, first episode, and then the second episode, you kind of get them to become familiarized with the ship and then this other pirate planet. And eventually you see Jude Law, who becomes very cunning of his ways, where you kind of don't know where he if you trust the guy or not. And this is a spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen the show. He has the ability to use the force, but not to a heavy extent. So that's kind of, I think, left to interpretation a little bit as to what his character is and uh, what he's capable of. So they kind of go in this back and forth, trying to not figure out if he is trusting or not, but he helps the kids seek information to their planet called Aten, which is a very, from Jude Law's perspective, a very um, urban legend tale kind of planet where he believes that's treasure that's pretty much that could fill up maybe 20 skyscrapers, like Empire State Buildings, like literally fill from top to bottom, I think. And the show hints whether or not are he really helping these kids, or is he trying to use these kids to get what he wants because his character is an ex-pirate. And The final episode does premiere tonight, and I will watch it, but I won't because I don't really want to spoil what the intent of Jude Law's character, but it's implied or it kind of hints that he's really using these kids to find the treasure what he's looking for. Uh, so yeah, it's like Pirates of the Caribbean, The Goonies, set in Star Wars. I think the characters here are outstanding. I mean, they're not like groundbreaking, but they're likable enough to join in on the ride. And I thought the action scenes here were very good, very good. I thought the what, episode 7 when they're trying to get away from this hotel that they arrive at, and then they end up trying to power their ship and trying to avoid this little contraction that's collecting trash. And I thought that was a pretty good action sequence. And I thought Jude Law's character, which he plays very, very good in this role, he's a great actor. He really delivers that when you really trust this guy or not, like this, like con man, you could say. Kind of like, yeah, kind of like Jack Sparrow, but not like Jack Sparrow. But he does it his way. I'm not saying he's like similar to Jack Sparrow, but he gives off that kind of vibe, like, can you trust the guy or not? Where he always trying to think about trying to have a plan, like, a step ahead. And I think he delivers that very well. There are really aren't any lightsaber battles, and I know that's like a quite that's kind of like a requirement for a Star Wars property, and I'm glad that this doesn't have that. I'm glad it's trying to do something very different on its own terms as a Star Wars side story that's doing its own thing that doesn't pay homage to or has to pay homage to everything that went on within the previous Star Wars installments. Because it gets a little bit, I don't know, to me, it gets a little bit repetitive if you keep revisiting something from the past and you're not choosing to move on from it. And I think that was the point with The Last Jedi, which I know that's a very divisive film. The point of that film was to try to not pay as much homage to the past and try to reinvent something new. It may have not worked for most, but this here can be maybe 50-50 because it doesn't really reference really anything from the previous installments. It has not even callbacks. This has its own vibe, it tries to have its own identity, and it really sells you on that of trying to be its own thing. It's basically about kids that make a mistake and they're trying to find their way back home. And then there's a side story which is not focused on too much, where you have the parents trying to figure out a way to send a signal out for the kids to return home if they believe they are alive. It was actually quite a few actresses. I was surprised to find. What's that? Was it Kelly McDonald who was in No Country for Old Men who played um, Josh Brolin's wife. She has a small little role in this series, and then the actress was it Judy? No, or maybe I don't know. There's another actress in there that looks familiar. She's in the show. Um, I think this is a fun, very fun Star Wars edition. Now, like I said, I have not seen the series version of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I've seen the condensed 2.5 hour version, the Patterson cut. I've seen the Patterson cut. Uh, and I have not seen the Acolyte. But I can tell you, because the reception from the Acolyte has aggressively damaged the ratings for this show, and I really believe you should check this show out. It's not better than Andor, which I think Andor, from what I've heard, is quite popular. But I've seen the first season of Andor. Um, though Andor, I don't know. I might want to talk about Andor. I might want to rewatch the first season again because I do like Andor, but I believe that show was very slow in picking up where it was trying to get to. And it took a while for me to get into it at first because it does chronicle a character who died in the 2016 Rogue One, but also it's providing so much, I think, details of what's going on beforehand. Um, I think it to me, well, that's Andor. So if I decide to bring that up with Andor, I will be happily to discuss that in a future video. But uh, the Skeleton Crew, which I do have one nitpick here that despite the action scenes, I would say and other characters, I would say the main villain, a wolf pirate, Captain Pirate. Yeah, he's not very memorable. In fact, little of a spoiler. I think the main villain's kind of, well, I shouldn't get into that. I do recommend checking out the Skeleton Crew. I think it's a great Star Wars edition, and I am looking forward to the final episode of this series, and we'll see where it goes from there. Comment below if you have been watching this series, what you thought about Skeleton Crew, and let me know what is your favorite underrated tele- let me know what is your favorite underrated television show.